There's no thrill. It's worse than nil. So draw to the right conclusion. Let them be still.
Welcome to episode 71 of the Exploring Antinatalism Podcast, a podcast showcasing the wide range of perspectives and ideas throughout antinatalism as it exists today, through interviews with antinatalist thinkers and creators of all kinds. Now running 4 years strong. I'm your host, Amanda Sukanik, and today I'll be speaking with Lord Suicide, also known as Raphael, who is the mind behind the German industrial harsh Aggrotech musical project with his upcoming album, The Anti-natalist, Chains of Agony. Welcome to the Exploring Antinatalism Podcast, Raphael.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, pleasure's all mine, absolutely. So I only recently became familiar with Chains of Agony. I only just became aware of you because of your upcoming album, which is called The Anti-natalist. And I really like what I've been hearing so far, and I thought it'd be great to bring you on and have a chat and learn more. From the little bit of conversation we've had so far, I've learned that, in some ways you're somebody who's very much like sort of at the beginning of your antinatalism, unless I'm, mistaken. We'll get into that in a bit, which I find very exciting. It's always really exciting to talk to people who are kind of like just starting to discover it in some ways. So looking forward to getting into all that. But first, let me ask you, who is Lord Suicide? Who is Raphael? And what is Chains of Agony?
Well, I'm a 32-year-old boy, man, however, whatever you want. And Chains of Agony is my music project. It's like you said, an industrial Aggrotech type of music. It's part of the Gothic electronic scene. And yeah, my songs are often about depression, suicide, and all of these of the bad things.
I'd love to hear a little bit about your history with music and the history of Chains of Agony, if you wouldn't mind. I mean, how long have you been doing this project? How many albums have you released so far?
I started this project back in 2013, and we at the beginning we tried to make something like experimental electronic with Dutch hardcore elements, but that doesn't work too good. And then my good friend and we did it together. We broke up, so we went separated ways. And I started in 2016 working on new tracks, and it became then what you can hear now.
Awesome. Okay, so this is a project that's been going quite a long time now, which is great.
Yeah.
And is it mostly just you now, or is it pretty much only a solo project?
Everything is only me. Yeah.
Excellent. Raphael, why are you an antinatalist?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say it evolved over the time. So, I mean, 10 years ago, I guess I thought about getting a kid, and the last years showed me that it's maybe not a good thing to get a kid today. I mean, there are so many things, like I suffered from depression. I look in this world, I became a vegan, and all this together, I guess, made me an anti-natalist. Yeah.
So it is something you've been thinking about for a little while now. It's like at least a couple of years.
Yeah, I got these feelings way back when I never heard of the word anti-natalism. I mean, first time I discovered this word was from Raphael Samuel when he did these things with his parents. I mean, I guess the world, everyone heard it, or most of the people. I'm in Facebook in a group. It's a child-free group, and I guess someone there posted a link about him, and I thought, well, it's really funny and I can relate to that. So then I read about anti-natalism, and then it became what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Raphael is a friend of mine, and the whole media circus that exploded because of what he was planning on doing was just extraordinary. Like there was barely a country in the world that wasn't didn't have like major news stories about it. It was really amazing. So that's really interesting that's where you kind of discovered it from.
It's pretty unique.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, outside of Raphael, Samuel, what would you say your familiarity with antinatalism is? I mean, have you read any books on antinatalism? Have you watched a lot of videos on the subject?
No, not really. I mean, I guess maybe I know one anti-natalist person. It's my boss, but I don't think he would say I am one, but we think the same in most of the ways. So yeah.
That's very cool. Hey, how often is it that anybody has anything in common with their boss? So that's pretty lucky. I'd love to talk a little bit about the album, The Anti-natalist, the upcoming album. So, I mean, what inspired this? What inspired The Anti-natalist?
I would say it's inspired by my life. So I think about things I can relate to. I lived. I mean, there are songs about depression, like I said, suicide, about toxic relationships. I mean, I have a big problem with the church. So yeah, these things are all topics of the new album, and I guess the whole thing I would call is the Anti-natalist. I mean, you hear this and you know my problems, and these problems made me think like I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all the pieces that kind of accumulate to make your anti-natalism. Would you say that?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, I'm glad you brought up problems with that. I also have some problems with the church. And I mean, atheism is a big part of my anti-natalism. And would you say there's a correlation there, like between realizing that there's no God and that maybe bringing new human beings here isn't exactly a great idea? Would you say there's a connection between those two things?
I would say it makes it easier. I mean, people who believe in God think they need to recreate themselves and put new babies in this world. And I guess someone who's not into religion, it's easier to say, I don't want to make a kid. And yeah.
Is there anything you can tell me about any of the individual tracks? Like I've heard a couple on Bandcamp. There's some that are free to play. Little clips on Instagram, which I've really enjoyed. But is there any? I mean, is there any particular songs that will become singles from the album that you'd like to talk about?
I released one song at the moment. It's Step by Step. It's okay. This song is not about my life. It's about a horror movie, Halloween by John Carpenter. And next Friday, I will release a new song. It's With Me. I mean, you probably heard it. It's on Bandcamp right now. And I don't think that I will release more songs. I mean, in I don't know, 12 days, huh? It's release, so pretty soon.
Excellent. Well, I also want to say that from some of your previous albums, you've also released some really, really great music videos. I like the music videos a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So can we expect some music videos to come out of some of the songs from the Antinatalist as well?
I did one music video and will release it next week, but it's not a huge music video. I shot everything here, but I'm thinking about to make one big music video in the future. But I'm thinking about what I want to see, so I can't tell you something more.
Oh, that's okay. Secrets are secrets, especially creative secrets. So that's great though.
There is nothing, so no secrets.
Again, in the correspondence that you and I have had so far, you spoke, about how, the new album, The Anti-natalist, deals heavily with the subject of your depression. I've also suffered from severe depression, most of my life. So I completely relate to that. Do you, there's a lot of debate in antinatalism about the role that depression plays in people that become anti-natalists. Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, what way would you, do you think that people need to experience depression in order to be anti-natalists, or is that just sort of just a stereotype that we kind of fall into sometimes?
I don't think you need to experience depression, but yeah, yeah, I mean, I personally, I was bullied since kindergarten in school. I mean, almost every year I was the victim, and I really fast realized that kids are really cruel, and I suffered from depression back then. And yeah, I mean, when I think back and there is me and I would be really happy, I don't think why I should have a problem with life in this world. So I guess, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. I mean, I'm sorry you went through all that. You know, I think that there's a major connection between the subjects of antinatalism and the right to die, per se. Like,
Yeah,
you know, if
of course. Sure, yeah.
yeah, and I was just wondering if, you know, what your thoughts are on that a bit.
I think it's okay if you want to die. I mean, no one asked me if I want to live, so I never, yeah, I would never say it's wrong to kill yourself, but you should be old enough. I mean, when you are 14 years old, you break up with your first relationship. It's not a reason to kill yourself, but I mean, if you're 30 or 40 years old and uh, I mean, you never had something in your life and you know you will live 30, 40 years and probably nothing will change. I mean, why should you suffer the next years? It makes no sense.
Right, right. I mean, do you consider, you know, your writing about that subject and antinatalism, I mean, do you consider that a kind of activism towards the right to die? Do you consider yourself an activist at all dealing with these subjects, or, you know?
No, I don't do any activism, but I thought about to make in the future some songs maybe about this. I mean, I used the word the anti-natalist for this album because I thought this word is not much in common. I mean, not many people know about it. So I thought maybe when I call this album like this, many people think, okay, what is an anti-natalist? And they will read about it. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and incidentally, I mean, you know, Germany is a really interesting place for antinatalism because it seems like Germany is where antinatalism at the minute has had the most pushback. You know, there's a very famous antinatalist historian named Karima Kerma, and there's an author by the name of Verena Brunschweiger, who's written several books about antinatalism, and both of them have, in different ways, have had a lot of pushback in the media. You know, quite actively against their antinatalism, and there's really nowhere else in the world yet that's quite experienced that level of pushback against the subject. So it's always like really like fascinating for me personally, you know, far away looking at it, you know, from an outsider looking at it, you know, to see new antinatalist makers of any kind, you know, being active within the German context. So so I'm really, you know, I definitely am really excited to see sort of what reactions you get. Do you typically play your music live as well as release albums? Is that something that you've done a lot of, or you plan to do with this album?
I wish I could,
Yeah,
but I mean, after COVID, I mean, I
yeah,
understand that the most bands who are big in the business, they get at first a chance to play. So I try my best. I wrote many people who have their own festivals and ask them, but I still wait for the answer.
yeah. I keep forgetting that that's still an active piece of the world sometimes, and well, I hope you get your chance to for sure. But
I
yeah,
hope too.
yeah, I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for sure. I was delighted to learn that you're also a vegan. That's great. I've also been a vegan for almost 7 years now. How long
Mhm.
have you been a vegan?
It's 15 months now.
Oh wow, that's fantastic!
That's
Congratulations.
really fresh.
Yeah, very fun. What caused that change? What sparked that in you?
I mean, 2.5 years ago, I started to become a vegetarian, and then 15 months ago, I watched a video from a German YouTuber who's a vegan, and he showed a cow who's crying and running behind her little calf. Is it right? Yeah. And I never thought about the process of the milk industry, and I always thought that every cow is giving milk for fun, just for me. And yeah, it took me 30 years to realize that this is really cruel. And then I said, okay, I'm stop using animal products, and yeah.
Good for you. That's fabulous. Congratulations on that. I mean, yeah, I know it took me a long time to realize it too. I was in my early 30s when I finally went vegan. So I totally identify with that. Which, I mean, would you say that, like, the, you know, for you is the connecting piece to all of these ideas, you know, suffering? I mean, there's for different antinatalists, there's sort of a different baseline concern. And, you know, for me, it's this existence of suffering. I mean, the existence of suffering propels me towards being an antinatalist, being a vegan, being for the right to die. Would you say that for you, that's sort of the underlying, you know, thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Sure.
Good. Yeah. What do you see as the connection between antinatalism and veganism? I mean, I know that you listened a little bit to the interview with George Martin, and thank you so much for listening to that one. Were you familiar with George before this?
Not really, but
Yeah.
he seems to be a really interesting guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's George is fantastic. I highly recommend his website, Carnism Debunked. It's excellent. But I was you know, curious what kind of thoughts listening to that interview, you know, brought up for you, because you seem to have really been drawn to that one.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought really about the connection between veganism and antinatalism, but there are some things that make sense, and I thought, well, yeah, he's right. And I think the connection for me personally between veganism and antinatalism is, I would say, I forgot it. I mean, the people create so much suffering, and I mean, I don't want to make kids because I think this world is full of suffering. So I want to make it less suffering, if it makes sense. And the next thing is for me to be vegan, because I don't want that animals have to suffer too for me.
Yeah, excellent. And I mean, one of the best tools that we have in this world, you know, protesting, you know, that suffering is through art, is through music. So I mean, do you think that perhaps, you know, your veganism and those kinds of themes will find their way into your music eventually as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the next songs definitely will be about veganism and about anti-natalism. I mean, it's, yeah.
Excellent. All right, great. Well, you know, we'll have to have you back on when even more antinatalist content comes out. That's great. You know, I noticed that in a lot of your music, I mean, even outside of the songs about antinatalism, you do deal with you know, themes of like the death of the human race a lot. You know, there's a real like extinctionist kind of edge to everything, I would say, unless I'm mistaken. Not all antinatalists are extinctionists. Do you consider yourself one? Do you find the idea of, you know, human extinction or sentient extinction to be, for lack of a better word at the minute, my brain is coming up with, I mean, do you find that to be an attractive part of the antinatalist theme?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think, I mean, I never think I could push the red button, but to think about how could this planet be without the human race? I mean, only nature and animals. That's a beautiful idea, but I guess I will never see it.
You know, what is your writing process like? Like, you know, when you're done with an album, do you immediately start on the next one? You know, what are you working on now, besides a little bit of what you talked about already?
At the moment, I'm working on 2 remixes, and then I will continue working on new songs. I mean, this is the last album for now I will release on CD, and the next songs are released. I mean, I think about to release every month one song. So after 12 months, there is a full-length album. So nobody has to wait. I have every month new content. Yeah, I guess the first song will come in April. I hope so.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Very, very smart. All right. So the Anti-natalist will be released January 13th. You can pre-order it now on Bandcamp, as I have. I'm looking forward to receiving my copy. Raphael, did you want to tell people a little bit about like the extras that they can get along with the album? I think there's like a button, there's some autographs, and what else does it come with?
Yeah, this is a really limited edition when you buy the compact disc, and it comes with a disc and a button, a sticker, a poster, and 2 autograph cards. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I can't wait to get that. And there's 3 ordering options, right? There's like the really limited edition, there's like a more standardized package, and then there's also one for remixers, right?
Yeah, there's the digital edition, the standard edition, what I said, and we have a deluxe edition. It's comes with the album from 2020 as well. And yeah, the remix edition I made for all the artists who remixed on the album, so they can buy the free edition there.
Sweet. Well, I mean, congratulations on the new album. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about the Anti-natalist?
No, I guess I said everything. People should give it a try, and hopefully they like the new album. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they'll definitely be able to find all kinds of links below to find out more about you and the new album.
Yeah.
Subscribe on YouTube too, because they're really cool music videos.
This too, yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, Lord Suicide, thank you so much for being my guest today on the Exploring Antinatalism podcast. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and good luck, with all your future projects. I'll definitely be listening.
Thank you too. Yeah.
Please follow the links below to where you can pre-order the new Chains of Agony album, The Anti-natalist, on Bandcamp, subscribe to him on YouTube, follow him on Facebook and Instagram, and check out the link tree for more. Thank you for listening to the Exploring Antinatalism Podcast. Please follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Exploring Antinatalism can also be heard on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Amazon.com, and so many other platforms. You can email me at exploringantinatalism@gmail.com. Website designed by Visions Noirs. Please follow him at www.bionoir.com and follow him on Instagram. Logo art by LifeSucks. Please subscribe to him on YouTube and check out his shop on Etsy at www.etsy.com/shop/LifeSucksPublishing. Music by Mati Hairi. You can hear the whole song, Life is a Sexually Transmitted Disease with a Mortality Rate of 100%, by following the link in the description, and make sure to also read his academic paper which inspired the song, If You Must Give Them a Gift, Then Give Them the Gift of Nonexistence, in the Cambridge Quarterly of Healthcare Ethics on cambridge.org. Links below. All the best, and bye for now.
And don't forget about me, the star of Veganism, a mini-series featuring antinatalist philosopher Mati Hairi and antinatalist activist Amanda Supnik as they challenge the OpenAI chatbot to answer their questions about antinatalism, only to receive the most interesting answers. New episodes of Veganism will be released on the 15th of every month until March 15th, and you can watch it here on the Exploring Antinatalism YouTube channel. See you there.
Life is no thrill compared to nil. Life is no thrill. It's worse than nil. So draw the right conclusion. Let them be still.